I was standing at the podium, about to accept the Florida Architecture Excellence Award, when I saw my husband Marcus whispering to the young woman beside him. His hand was on her lower back. That's when I knew tonight was the night he'd been planning for months. But what Marcus didn't know was that I'd been planning too. Let me back up. My name is Elena Martinez, and I'm 48 years old. I spent 30 years building my architecture firm from nothing, designing some of Miami's most recognizable buildings in the Art Deco district. I met Marcus Chen when I was 18, fresh off the boat from Cuba with barely any English and big dreams. He was 22, confident, charming, working in his father's import business. He made me feel like I belonged in America. We built a life together, or rather, I built a life and he enjoyed it. 3 months ago, I woke up at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. The house was dark, but I heard voices coming from Marcus's study downstairs. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was just thirsty, heading to the kitchen, when I heard my name. Elena's award ceremony is the perfect opportunity. That was Marcus's voice. She'll be emotional, surrounded by press and clients. She won't want to make a scene. A woman's laugh. Young, breathy. Are you sure she'll sign? She will if she wants to avoid public embarrassment. I've already talked to Victor. He's got the paperwork ready. Once she signs over the properties to cover my investment losses, we split everything 3 ways, and I'm done with her. My hand froze on the kitchen doorframe. Investment losses? What about your sons? The woman again. Daniel and Robert are adults. They'll understand their father deserves happiness. Besides, they're too busy with their own careers to care about old people's drama. I stepped back slowly, my heart pounding so hard I thought they'd hear it. I made it back to the bedroom, closed the door silently, and sat on the edge of the bed in the dark. My mind was racing. Marcus wanted me to sign over properties? What properties? The ones I'd bought with my money, built with my designs titled in my name? And who was Victor? Who was this woman? I didn't sleep the rest of that night. By morning, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to confront Marcus. Not yet. I'd learned a long time ago from my mother, who'd survived far worse than a cheating husband, that you never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. You let them dig their own grave, then you hand them the shovel. Over the next few weeks, I became a different person. On the surface, I was the same Elena. Busy with work, planning for my award ceremony, making dinner for Marcus when he bothered to come home. But underneath, I was gathering evidence. I started with Marcus's computer. He'd always been careless about security, using the same password for everything, his mother's maiden name. I found emails to someone named Jade Harper, hundreds of them. Photos, plans, discussion about liquidating Elena's assets. There were spreadsheets tracking my properties, estimates of their worth, plans to transfer them into an LLC that Marcus and Victor controlled. I took screenshots of everything. Then I hired a private investigator. His name was Robert Chen, no relation to Marcus, which Marcus would have found ironic if he'd known. Robert was thorough. Within 2 weeks, I had photos of Marcus and Jade at restaurants, hotels, even at my own under-construction building site, touring it like they already owned it. But it got worse. Robert discovered that Marcus had gambling debts, serious ones. $500,000 owed to some very unpleasant people in Miami. He'd been betting on cryptocurrency, sports, anything. The money was gone. He'd been covering it up for months, making minimum payments with cash advances from credit cards in my name. Credit cards I didn't know existed. That's when I found out Marcus had been forging my signature. He'd opened accounts, taken out loans, all using forged documents. When Robert showed me the paperwork, I felt sick. My signature, but not quite right. Close enough to fool a bank clerk who wasn't looking carefully. I met with my attorney, Margaret Whitmore, a woman I'd known for 20 years. She'd handled all my business contracts. When I showed her what I'd discovered, she didn't look surprised. "Elena," she said, "I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Did you ever sign anything Marcus asked you to sign without reading it?" I thought back. Maybe. He'd bring home documents sometimes, say they were tax forms or insurance updates. I trusted him. She nodded grimly. "We need a forensic accountant, and we might need the FBI." "The FBI? Forgery, fraud, identity theft. If he's been doing this systematically, it's a federal crime. And if Victor is involved, this could be a larger conspiracy. The forensic accountant, David Liu, worked fast. He traced every transaction, every forged signature, every fraudulent account. He created a timeline. It had started 5 years ago, small things at first. Then it escalated. Marcus had been systematically trying to move my assets into accounts he controlled. But he'd made one crucial mistake. When we got married 30 years ago, my attorney then, an old Cuban woman named Rosa, who'd since passed away, had insisted on a prenuptial agreement. I barely spoke English at the time, but Rosa had made sure I understood. "Protect yourself, Mija," she'd said. "Love is beautiful, but paperwork is forever." That prenup clearly stated that any property I acquired through my own work remained solely mine. Any attempt to transfer it without my explicit notarized consent was void. Marcus had never bothered to read it carefully, or he'd forgotten. While I was gathering evidence, I had to keep acting normal. That was the hardest part. Marcus would come home, kiss me on the cheek, ask about my day. I'd smile and tell him about the award ceremony preparations. "You must be excited," he'd say. "I am," I'd reply, looking him straight in the eye. "It's going to be a night to remember." He'd smile, thinking he knew what I meant. Meanwhile, I was making my own preparations. I moved money into offshore accounts my attorney set up. I secured my properties with additional legal protections. I documented everything. Every lie Marcus told me, I recorded on my phone. Every time Jade called him, I noted it. I also started following Jade on social media. She was an influencer, 30,000 followers, posting about luxury lifestyles and manifesting abundance. Her recent posts showed her at expensive restaurants, wearing jewelry I recognized from my own collection that had mysteriously gone missing. She posted cryptic things like, "Good things come to those who take what they deserve," and "Upgrade SCN." Through Robert, I learned that Jade wasn't just Marcus's mistress. She was running her own scam, a multi-level marketing scheme disguised as a crypto investment platform. She was promising people huge returns, taking their money, and paying old investors with new investors' cash, a classic Ponzi scheme. And she was recruiting through Marcus's business contacts, using his credibility. Then there was Victor. Victor Ramirez, Marcus's supposed business partner. Robert discovered that Victor wasn't a legitimate businessman at all. He was a con artist with warrants in 3 states. He specialized in financial fraud, usually targeting older people. He and Marcus had met at a casino 2 years ago and had been scheming together ever since. The plan became clear. Marcus would get me to sign over my properties to cover his investment losses. Victor would take control of them through the LLC. They'd sell everything, split the money 3 ways with Jade, and disappear. Marcus would divorce me, claiming I'd lost everything through bad investments, and I'd be left with nothing. It was elegant in a horrible way. And it might have worked if I hadn't heard that conversation. As my award ceremony approached, Marcus became more attentive. He bought me flowers. He complimented my dresses. He told me how proud he was of my achievements. "I want to make sure this night is special," he said. "I invited some people who should be there to celebrate with you." "Oh? Who?" "Just some business associates, people who appreciate good architecture." He smiled. "I want everyone to see what an amazing woman my wife is." I smiled back. "That's sweet of you, honey." What I didn't tell him was that I'd made my own guest list. Margaret would be there, David the forensic accountant, Robert the PI, and 2 FBI agents who'd become very interested in Victor Ramirez once I'd shared what I knew. The night of the ceremony arrived. It was being held at the Perez Art Museum, one of my favorite buildings in Miami. The ballroom overlooked Biscayne Bay, the water glittering with city lights. 200 people filled the space: architects, developers, city officials, press. I wore a red dress, my mother's diamond necklace, and the confidence of someone who knew exactly what was about to happen. Marcus arrived with Jade. He didn't even try to hide it. She was on his arm, wearing a tight gold dress and too much perfume. He introduced her to people as his business associate. I watched from across the room as he worked the crowd, pointing things out to her, his hand possessive on her waist. Victor was there too, lurking near the bar, checking his phone every few minutes. He looked nervous. Good. The ceremony began. There were speeches, presentations, a video about my career. My sons, Daniel and Robert, had flown in to surprise me. They sat in the front row, handsome in their suits, looking confused about why their father was sitting with a strange young woman instead of next to them. Then it was my turn. I walked to the podium to accept the award. The applause was warm, genuine. I thanked my colleagues, my clients, my sons. I didn't mention Marcus. Then I saw him stand up. He was walking toward the stage, Jade and Victor following him. My heart rate picked up, but I kept my expression calm. Marcus climbed the steps to the stage. He took the microphone from my hand, and the room went silent. People looked confused. This wasn't part of the program. "Sorry to interrupt," Marcus said, his voice booming through the speakers. "But I have an announcement. Elena and I have been married for 30 years, and we've had a good run. But I think everyone here needs to know the truth." My son stood up. "Dad, what are you doing?" Daniel called out. Marcus ignored him. "The truth is, I've made some bad investments. Lost a lot of money. Elena's money, technically, since she's always been the breadwinner." He laughed, but it sounded bitter. "And now, to save both our reputations, we're going to need to liquidate some assets. Elena's properties, specifically." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. People looked at me. I stood perfectly still, letting him continue. "Victor here," Marcus gestured to the stage, and Victor climbed up hesitantly, "has prepared paperwork to transfer Elena's properties into a trust that will manage them more effectively. All Elena needs to do is sign, and we can move forward. Keep this quiet. Avoid any embarrassing investigations." He pulled papers from his jacket pocket. "So, Elena, why don't we take care of this now? Sign these, and we can all get back to celebrating your achievement." The room was dead silent. Everyone was staring at me. I could see the press representatives with their cameras ready. My colleagues looked shocked. My sons looked furious. I took a deep breath. Then I stepped back to the microphone. "Marcus," I said, my voice steady, "I have a few questions before I sign anything." He looked annoyed. "Elena, this isn't the time." "First question, what investment losses?" "I've reviewed our accounts, and I don't see any investments made with my money." "Could you be more specific?" His eye twitched. "It's complicated. Financial instruments you wouldn't understand." "Second question. Victor, is it? Could you tell everyone your real name?" Because my investigator found that Victor Ramirez is actually Vicente Rodriguez, wanted in Nevada, Arizona, and California for financial fraud. The room erupted. Victor's face went white. He started backing toward the stairs. "Don't bother running," I said calmly. "There are FBI agents at all the exits." And there were. 2 agents in suits materialized near the doors. Victor stopped moving. I turned back to Marcus. "Third question. Jade, honey, could you stand up?" The young woman in gold froze. "Could you tell everyone about your wonderful crypto investment opportunity? The one that's actually a Ponzi scheme you've been running through Marcus's business contacts?" Jade tried to bolt. Another FBI agent stopped her. "Fourth question," I continued, my voice getting stronger. "Marcus, when exactly did you think it was okay to forge my signature on credit card applications, on loan documents? Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" Marcus's confident expression had completely crumbled. "Elena, I can explain." "No need. I have 37 examples of forged documents. I have bank records showing you withdrew $500,000 for gambling debts. I have emails between you, Jade, and Victor planning to steal my properties and disappear." I pulled my phone from my clutch. "I have recordings of you planning this whole thing. And most importantly, I have a prenuptial agreement that makes everything you just tried to do completely illegal." The press was eating this up. Cameras were flashing. Someone was live streaming. I held up the award I'd just received. "You wanted me to sign away my life's work at my moment of triumph. You wanted to humiliate me in front of my colleagues, my industry, my sons. You wanted to make me look weak." I turned to face the audience. "But here's what you forgot, Marcus. I came to this country with nothing. I built these buildings with my hands, my mind, my sweat. I survived things you can't imagine to get here. Did you really think you could take it all away with forged signatures and a pretty girl?" The crowd burst into applause. My sons rushed the stage to hug me. The FBI moved in. They handcuffed Marcus, Victor, and Jade right there, reading them their rights. Marcus was yelling something about how I was making a mistake, how I'd regret this, but his voice got drowned out by the applause and the chaos. Margaret appeared at my side. "That was beautiful," she whispered. "Is it done?" I asked. "Completely. They have enough evidence to charge all three with multiple federal crimes: fraud, forgery, conspiracy, wire fraud, identity theft. Marcus is looking at 10 to 15 years. Victor even more since he's a repeat offender. Jade's facing charges for the Ponzi scheme." I nodded. I felt strangely calm. "What about my properties?" "Secure. Every single one. The prenup held up perfectly. And since Marcus's debts were incurred through illegal activity, you're not liable for any of it." The ceremony tried to continue after that, but nobody was paying attention to the program anymore. Everyone wanted to talk to me. My colleagues were amazed. My sons were proud and furious and confused all at once. "Mom," Daniel said, "how long have you known?" 3 months. "And you didn't tell us?" "I needed to handle it my way. You boys have your own lives. This was my fight." Robert, my younger son, hugged me tighter. "You're amazing, Mom. I can't believe he tried to do that to you." "Believe it," I said, "but it's over now." The story went viral. My award acceptance speech, the FBI arrests, Marcus's public humiliation, it was everywhere within hours. The architecture community rallied around me. Clients called to express their support. I got interview requests from major news outlets. But the best part came a week later. Jade's social media empire collapsed. Her followers discovered the Ponzi scheme, the affair with a married man, her involvement in trying to steal my properties. She lost everything. Her brand deals, her sponsorships, her followers. Last I heard, she was working at a retail store in Tampa, her mother refusing to let her move back home. Victor was extradited to Nevada to face charges there first. He'd be in prison for a long time. And Marcus, my husband of 30 years. He was denied bail because of flight risk. His trial is scheduled for next year. His fancy suits and confident smile didn't help him in orange jumpsuits. His attorneys tried to cut a deal, but I refused. I wanted him to face every single charge. The divorce was finalized quickly. I got everything, which was fair since it had always been mine anyway. The judge wasn't sympathetic to Marcus's claims. Turns out judges don't like it when you forge your wife's signature and conspire to steal her properties. My sons asked me if I was okay, if I was heartbroken, if I needed anything. I told them the truth. I'd stopped loving Marcus years ago, maybe a decade. I'd just been too busy building my career to notice that my marriage had died. Finding out about his betrayal hurt, but not because I loved him. It hurt because I'd wasted so much time on someone who saw me as nothing more than a bank account. But I wasn't wasting any more time. 6 months after the ceremony, I launched a new initiative through my firm. I started a program providing free legal and financial consulting to immigrant women starting businesses. I called it the Rosa Foundation, after the attorney who'd insisted on my prenup all those years ago. I wanted other women to have the protection I'd had, the knowledge I'd gained. The program was fully funded by the damages I'd won from Marcus in civil court. He'd tried to steal from me, so I took everything he had left. It felt like justice. I also started speaking at events about financial independence, about protecting yourself even in marriage, about trusting your instincts. My story resonated with people. I got letters from women all over the country who'd faced similar situations, who'd found the courage to investigate, to protect themselves, to fight back. My sons introduced me to their new girlfriends at Thanksgiving. Both young women were smart, ambitious, had their own careers. I made sure to have private conversations with each of them about prenups, separate bank accounts, and never signing anything they hadn't read carefully. They laughed, but I could tell they were listening. As I write this, it's been a year since that award ceremony. Marcus is still in prison awaiting trial. Jade is working minimum wage and living with roommates. Victor is serving his sentence in Nevada. And me? I'm thriving. I expanded my firm. I won 2 more awards. I traveled to Cuba for the first time in 30 years to see family. I learned to salsa dance again. I took my sons on a trip to Spain. I lived my life without checking with anyone, without explaining where I was going or when I'd be back, without tiptoeing around someone else's mood. Freedom, I discovered, looks like an empty closet where Marcus's clothes used to hang. It sounds like silence in the house, peaceful and mine. It feels like opening my bank statements without fear, seeing my properties in my name only, knowing that everything I built is secure. People ask me if I regret how it all played out. They ask if I wish I'd handled it differently, maybe confronted Marcus privately, given him a chance to explain. They ask if I'm embarrassed that my marriage ended so publicly. My answer is always the same. I don't regret anything. Marcus chose to humiliate me publicly, so I responded publicly. He chose to try to steal from me at my moment of triumph, so I defended myself at that same moment. He wanted a scene, so I gave him one, just not the one he'd planned. And as for embarrassment, I'm not the one who got arrested at an award ceremony for trying to steal from my spouse. That's all on him. The truth is, the best revenge isn't just living well. It's living so well that your enemies can see exactly what they lost. It's building an empire they can't touch. It's standing on stage, accepting awards, launching foundations, helping other women, and knowing that the person who tried to tear you down is locked away, facing the consequences of their choices. My mother used to say something in Spanish, "Los árboles fuertes no temen a la tormenta." Strong trees don't fear the storm. I survived the storm. More than that, I grew stronger because of it. So to any woman reading this who's discovered betrayal, who's found out her partner is stealing from her, who's been underestimated and overlooked, here's what I learned. Don't react immediately. Don't show your hand. Gather evidence. Build your case. Protect yourself legally and financially. And when you're ready, when you have everything in place, then you strike. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with facts, with evidence, with the law on your side. Because the sweetest victory isn't emotional satisfaction. It's watching your enemy realize they underestimated you. It's seeing them face justice while you walk away with everything you built, everything you earned, everything that was always yours. Marcus thought I was just a pretty girl from Cuba who'd gotten lucky. He thought my success was somehow his, that my properties were his to take, that my life's work was his to sell. He was wrong, and now everyone knows it. I'm Elena Martinez. I'm 48 years old. I design buildings that will stand for centuries, and I don't let anyone tear down what I've built. Not anymore. Not ever again.